Hi, I'm Femi Okay.
And I'm Malika Bilal, and you're in the stream.
Today, unrest in Indonesia's West Papua has led to renewed calls for an independent state. Should the area remain part of Indonesia?
We want to hear your questions and thoughts on this. Tweet them to us at AJStream or comment in our live YouTube chat. Hi, I'm Jeannie Park. I'm the president of the Harvard Asian American Alumni Alliance, and you are in the stream.
On Thursday, Indonesia partially lifted an internet blackout in the country's easternmost region of West Papua. The restriction was imposed after some of the most serious civil unrest in years. Protests began in mid-August after the spread of a video showing Indonesian security forces calling Papuan students monkeys. Demonstrations have now turned into renewed calls for an independent state. Protesters have marched with the banned Morning Star flag, a symbol of the West Papuan independence movement, and across the West Papua region, government buildings have been set on fire. Around 6,000 police and military reinforcements have been sent. Last week, witnesses said at least 6 demonstrators and 1 soldier were killed in Papua province, but the government denies the incident took place.
So today we want to look into what's happening now in West Papua and what should be done to resolve tensions between the region and the Indonesian government. We'll hear Papuan perspectives in a bit. But first, let's go to Ottawa, where we're joined by Abdul Qadir Jailani, Indonesia's ambassador to Canada. Welcome.
Ambassador, it's good to have you. I'm going to start with a map because the West Papua is not in the news very often. I want to remind our international audience where it is. I'm going to show the map. In the deep red colour, you will see the area that's known as the West Papuan region. The orange area is the rest of Indonesia. You'll notice that Surabaya is marked out there. That's a place where that original incident of the monkey name calling happened. And then the other areas that we have marked are areas where there have been big protests, and also areas where there's been a limited amount of connectivity with people's mobile phones and the internet. Ambassador, I'm going to go first of all to your president. This is him about 2 weeks ago on what was happening in the West Papuan region. Have a listen.
Saya juga telah memerintahkan kepada Kapolri.
Thank God, the situation is back to normal again and an apology has been issued. This shows the greatness of our hearts that stand united together and the mutual respect and value we have for each other as fellow countrymen and citizens.
Ini tolong digarisbawahi. Saya juga akan mengundang.
I already have ordered the police chief to take legal action against racial and ethnic discrimination in a strict manner, and please take note of this. I will also invite leaders from Papua and West Papua, traditional leaders, community leaders, and religious leaders to come to the presidential palace to talk about the acceleration of welfare in Papua.
Ambassador, your president there saying, thank God the situation is back to normal again. That was 2 weeks ago. Maybe he was being a little bit too optimistic. How would you describe the situation today?
Yeah, for the information that we got from on the ground, that the condition now is improving. But yeah, I know it's not perfect yet. But I think we are very optimistic that we can restore the situation and the security.
Optimistic, but I want to bring this in. This tweeted from Virginia, really sharing something that came out of the UN. This from the UN's Human Rights Chief, Michelle Bachelet. We are seeing an outpouring of popular discontent and mass protests, or their suppression with the firm hand of the state, listing Indonesia's Papua province among regions where dialogue is needed to prevent unrest. How did it get to this point, Ambassador?
Yeah, we know that the situation in Papua is not perfect yet as of today. But as I'm telling you that now we are improving. Of course, there are some areas that we need to do. We need to restore that. And the second thing is about the dialogue. I think it is clear from the statement made by our president that we are willing to dialogue with all the community leaders, with local leaders. So it sends a strong message that Indonesian government is very willing to listen all the aspiration and all the wishes of the Papuan people.
One of the things that you do as your job is to explain Indonesia to the rest of the world. We still are very curious about how did we get to the situation where police are calling West Papuans monkeys, where West Papuans are protesting, and you're in a situation where you need to have dialogue with your own citizens. I'm still not clear how that started from your perspective, Ambassador.
There is one thing that we must be bear in mind. You know what happened? We never condone what happened in Surabaya. As such, racial slur is unacceptable. And the statement made, what happened in Surabaya does not only hurt or hurt the feeling of the Papuans, but the whole Indonesian as a one nation. The such statement, it is indeed an expression that will be against our principle as being Indonesian.
There's clearly grievances there, and I wanted to share this video. You'll just see scenes. This is from the Twitter account Free West Papua. Incredible scenes in Jayapura, West Papua, as the Indonesian flag is torn down and the West Papuan flag, the Morning Star, is raised. Thousands of people can be seen below chanting for freedom. So you see those scenes right there. And then I want to switch over here to YouTube, where someone with that handle, Morning Star, writes in, and they say, should Australia rule Hong Kong because they had the same colonial master? Papua and Indonesia have nothing in common except the same colonial masters. It's racism to support this nonsense, and that is referencing the idea of the question, should Papua remain part of Indonesia? Clearly there are grievances here. Clearly there are people who are upset. What would you say to people who say there needs to be a referendum on independence?
One thing that we need to remember that Indonesia, Papua is since the very beginning, and it's always remains part of our Indonesia. The fact that the Papua is a part of our territory, it is based on international law. It is justified by international law. There is a principle of oti possidetis principle. So such a statement as that the Hong Kong and Australia ruled by the same master, it is just a twisting statement. Once again, that Papua is a part of our territory is justified by international law. This is the first thing. The second thing is all the self-determination has been internally and externally exercised.
Ambassador Abdul Qadir Jilani, thank you so much for joining us on the stream today. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we want to move on to share more perspectives on West Papua, so we are joined by Benny Wenda, Chairman of the United Liberation Movement for West Papua. He joins us from Oxford in the UK. In Yogyakarta, Indonesia, Yeni Wahid, Executive Director of the Wahid Institute, a group that campaigns for religious freedom. And in Melbourne, Australia, Victor Mambor, a journalist based in Jayapura, West Papua. Thank you very much for joining us. Melike.
So eager to get in our community in this, because we got a couple video comments from people, and I want to share just one of them, giving an insight into some of the grievances that people are sharing. And we tried to ask the ambassador there what led to this. We didn't quite get that answer. So Benny, I'm going to share this from Ligia Gay. She's a PhD candidate at Murdoch University. And here are the grievances from her perspective.
The racist tones towards Papuan students in Surabaya is not an isolated incident. This is something that has occurred for decades. Papuan students studying outside of Papua for the 80s, the 90s, the noughties, they've always had stories about how they're called monkeys. And this, of course, also has impacted our football players who also have been called monkeys when they're playing in the field outside of Papua. There is this one incident where a banana peel was actually thrown into the field.
So Benny, you can hear some of the hurt in her voice there. Can you describe for us what it's like to be Papuan in Indonesia?
58 years we've been under suppressed by Indonesia illegal occupation. That's ambassador said that West Papua is part of the Indonesia, but not. West Papua never part of Indonesia. We've been separate. We are different geographically, culturally, linguistically. We have never been part of Indonesia. That's why they call us a monkey from the beginning. Since they illegally occupied our country, 1962.